We're going to start from Masnissen the Leiker of Elazar ben Yaakov.
Masnissen
the Leiker of Elazar ben Yaakov. That is about 6 lines from the top of Daf Mem Hey Amud Aleph.
Okay.
Imagine that's where people probably finished yesterday.
Finished a bit further, but that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zakti Gemara Masnissen the Leiker of Elazar ben Yaakov. Our Mishnah, which says that you have either 5 or 7 members of the Sanhedrin that involve themselves in measuring. So we had a machlekes whether it means 5 members of the Sanhedrin or 7 members of the Sanhedrin. Doesn't seem to match with Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. The Tanya, because we learned in Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, "Keinecha zu Sanhedrin." When it says Keinecha, it refers to the Sanhedrin. Sheiftecha is a melech, the Kein Gadol. And when it says Sheiftecha, it means the melech and the Kein Gadol. Melech tichsiv. How do we know that it means melech? Because it says in the pasuk, the melech establishes the land. So he is the Sheiftecha. Kein Gadol tichsiv b'asal Kein Halvim. It means the Kein Gadol because it says you should come to the Kohanim Halavim Ela Sheifet Ashayiyah. So the Sheifet is the Kein Gadol. So therefore, Sheiftecha means Melech L'Kein Gadol. So our Mishnah did not mention anything about the Melech. And since Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov holds that the measuring has to be done by the Sanhedrin and by the Melech and the Kein Gadol, it's a simon that our Mishnah does not agree with Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Talmidei Yeshiva asked the Shaila, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, the Melech L'Kein Gadol, who the Pali. Does Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov disagree with our Mishnah only as far as the Melech and the Kein Gadol are concerned? Abel the Sanhedrin, but as far as how many members of the Sanhedrin have to participate. Ikar Reb Yehuda, Ikar Reb Shimon, he can either hold like Reb Yehuda, or he can hold like Reb Shimon. He can either hold 5, he can hold 7. Svirale, a Dilma, or perhaps the Sanhedrin Nami Palik. Or does his disagreement with our Mishnah also apply to how many members of the Sanhedrin have to participate? Adi Ikar Kula Sanhedrin, that according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, he holds that you need the whole Sanhedrin. So this is our question. It's not clear from the words of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov whether he disagrees with our Mishnah only as far as the Melech and the Kein Gadol are concerned, or does he also disagree with our Mishnah as far as the Sanhedrin are concerned? Amar Rav Yosef Tashma. So Rav Yosef said, "Come in here, I'll prove you. I'll bring you a proof as to which way it goes." There's a din of Zaken Mamre. The Zaken Mamre is the member of the Sanhedrin that disagreed with the rest of the Sanhedrin. He was outnumbered by his colleagues, and nevertheless, he tells people to obey his psak din and ignore the psak din of the majority of the Sanhedrin. So in such a case, he's called a Zaken Mamre and is chayav misa. So there are certain criteria that he has to fit in order to become a Zaken Mamre. So the Braisa says as follows: Matzan Zaken Mamre abei pagi. If the Zaken Mamre met the Sanhedrin, he met the rest of the Sanhedrin by bei pagi, the himra aleim, and that's where he disagreed with them, and that's where he rebelled against them. So you might think that rebellion is considered a rebellion, and he would become a Zaken Mamre. So the pasuk says you have to rise and go to the place. So the place where the Sanhedrin sits, the Lishkas Hagazis, the Beis Hamikdash, causes him to become a Zaken Mamre. But if the argument with the Sanhedrin or the rebellion against the Sanhedrin did not take place in the Lishkas Hagazis, it didn't take place in the Beis Hamikdash, in the place where the Sanhedrin normally sits, so he's not considered a Zaken Mamre. So the question is, the Nafukama, how many members of the Sanhedrin left the Lishkas Hagazis to go to Bei Pagi, where he met them and he rebelled against them? If you want to say that only a small fraction, a small portion of the Sanhedrin went to Bei Pagi, so how could you have a case where he met them in Bei Pagi and he rebelled against them? Just because the people that he met in Bei Pagi don't hold like him, that's not a proof that the people that are sitting in Lishkas Hagazis don't hold like him. So maybe the other members of the Sanhedrin who did not come to Bei Pagi hold like him. So it must be that the entire Sanhedrin went out to Bei Pagi. So the question is, ulamai, for what purpose did they go to Bei Pagi? If you want to tell me they just went for their own, whatever they decided they want to go for, mimatz and afki, are they allowed to go? Is the whole Sanhedrin allowed to leave the Lishkas Hagazis and go out to Beit Pagi? But Ksiv, doesn't it say in the pasuk Sirarech Hagan Hasar Al Yechzer Hamezek? Al Yechzer Hamezek means that you're not allowed to be lacking the basic number of members of Sanhedrin in the Lishkas Hagazis, from which we derive if one of the members of the Sanhedrin has to leave for some personal reason. If there's 23 left, which are the minimum that a Sanhedrin Tana has, then he's allowed to leave. In other words, even though the Sanhedrin normally has 71 members, but if there's 23 members, a skeleton amount of Sanhedrin there, it's okay. But if he does not leaving behind 23 members, and Yaitse is not allowed to leave the Lishkas Hagazis, so then it would be impossible for the entire Sanhedrin to leave just for the sake of it. So obviously they left for a mitzvah. What kind of mitzvah did they leave for? Lamai, for what kind of mitzvah did they leave? Lav, probably Limdidus Egla. They went to measure for an Egla Rufa. But Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov, and it goes according to Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov, who says, as we suspected, that Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov not only requires the Melech and the Kohen Gadol to be involved in the measuring for Egla Rufa, but it also requires the entire Sanhedrin to be involved. And for the entire Sanhedrin to be involved, they would have to leave the Lishkas Hagazis. So that's what it means that he met them at Beit Pagi, because they went to measure for the Egla Rufa. So this would be a proof that Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov doesn't just disagree with the Chachamim in connection with whether the Melech and Kohen Gadol have to go, but he also disagrees with the Chachamim in reference to how many members of the Sanhedrin have to go. Amar le Abaye, so Abaye said to him, "Loi, no. Perhaps the reason the Sanhedrin left the Lishkas Hagazis was not to measure for an Egla Rufa, because maybe to measure for an Egla Rufa it's enough 5 or 7 members of Sanhedrin. The reason they left the Lishkas Hagazis and went to Beit Pagi was to add to Yerushalayim or to the Azara. We know that Yerushalayim has a special kedusha because you're allowed to eat Meiser Sheni only and Kachim Kalim only in Yerushalayim. The Azara has a special kedusha. You can eat Kachim only in the Azara. So to add to enlarge the space of Yerushalayim or the space of the Azara, you need a special procedure, and this special procedure requires the entire Sanhedrin to participate. As we learned in the Mishnah, you can only add to Yerushalayim or to the Azara with a bezdin of 71. So if they went to add to the perimeters of Yerushalayim, to the boundaries of Yerushalayim, they went to stretch the boundaries of Yerushalayim, that would require the entire Sanhedrin. So who says that when he met them by Beit Pagi, he met them there because they went to measure for Egla Rufa, and then you want to bring a proof from there that Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov holds that the entire Sanhedrin has to be involved in the measuring? Maybe he met them there because they went to add to the measurements of Yerushalayim. Tanya Kavasei de Rabbi Yosef. We learned a brayse which goes according to Rabbi Yosef that it's talking they went there for the measuring for the stretching of the boundaries of Yerushalayim. Matzana Beit Pagi. I'm sorry. We learned a brayse which supports Rabbi Yosef, who was of the opinion that Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov holds that you need the entire Sanhedrin to measure for Egla Rufa. Learned a brayse like Rabbi Yosef's interpretation of the previous brayse. Matzana Beis Pagi v'himra aleim. If the Zaken Mamri met them by Beis Pagi and over there rebelled against them, and the brayse explains what the Sanhedrin was doing in Beis Pagi. For example, they left to measure for Egla Rufa or to stretch the boundaries of Yerushalayim. I might think that his rebellion is considered a rebellion that he meets the criteria of Zaken Mamri. You should rise and go up to the place where the Sanhedrin normally sits. So you see that the place where the Sanhedrin normally sits, Lishkas Hagazis, is what causes him to be able to become a Zaken Mamri. In any case, what we learned from this brayse is that what was the Sanhedrin doing in Beis Pagi? They either came to measure for Egla Rufa or they came to Yosef al Yir val Azaris, which is a proof to what Rabbi Yosef said originally. And according to Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov, you require the entire Sanhedrin to participate in measuring for Egla Rufa, not like our Mishnah who brings 2 opinions. One opinion says 5 and one opinion says 7. Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov says no, you need the entire Sanhedrin. Nimtza Tamun Begal. I totally be We learned in our Mishnah that if the dead body was found hidden under a heap of stones or was hanging from a tree, In these cases, you don't have to make an egla rufa. And we learned it from Psukim. Says the Gemara, perhaps our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yehuda and not according to the Chachamim. Tanya, because we learned in Rabbi Isa, it says in the laws of Shikha, if you forget a sheaf in the field, not let it go back to take it, you have to leave it for the poor. So it says in the pasuk, you forgot a sheaf of grain in the field. Says this comes to exclude if it was forgotten, buried underneath something. It was forgotten, buried underneath something, then you may go back and take it. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The Chachamim say just the opposite. Basada in the field means even in the field, not just on the field, but in the field. But Rabbi says Hatamun, it comes to include that which is buried underneath something. So, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that Basada Prat L'Tamun fits with our Mishnah, which says Ki Yimatzeh Chalal Ba'adama comes to exclude Tamun. If he's buried underneath a heap of stones, it's not considered Yimatzeh Ba'adama. But according to the Chachamim, who say that Basada L'Rabes is Hatamun, so Ki Yimatzeh Chalal Ba'adama would include also buried under a heap of stones, just like it does over there. Amar Rav afilu teimer Rabbanan. Rav says no, it can even go according to the Chachamim. Hacha minyane dekra, hasa minyane dekra. It really depends on what the topic of the pasuk is. Hacha dechsiv ki yimatzei chalal hecha demistakach. Over here, since it says ki yimatzei chalal, if a dead body is found, so we assume that it means found anywhere. Ba'adama, then when the pasuk continues and says ba'adama, what is it coming to teach us? It's coming to exclude something. It has to be on the ground. Prat L'Tamun, which excludes buried underneath the ground or buried underneath a heap of stones. Hasam and Yani Dekra, and over there it also works according to the subject of the pasuk. It says when you harvest your harvest in your field, and you forget a sheaf, Shikcha Dumi Yedekatzin. So the beginning of the pasuk was Ki Sircha B'Sadecha, when you harvest your field and you forgot a sheaf. So where did you forget the sheaf? It's going to be similar to the harvest. Just like you harvest in the open. You don't harvest underneath a heap of stones. So when it says you forgot when you forgot the sheaf, it must have been in a revealed place, in an open place. Then when the Torah adds the word basada, you must come to include something that you would have thought is excluded. It comes to include that which is buried underneath a heap of stones. Yeah, so therefore you can't bring a raya from Shikha to our Mishnah because the circumstances are different. Our Mishnah is talking about Egla Rufa. Our Mishnah is talking about the dinim of Egla Rufa, where it says Ki Yimatzei Chalal Ba'adama. So when it said L'chatchila Ki Yimatzei Chalal, we assumed anywhere. When it says Ba'adama, it came to exclude Tamun. But by Shikha, when it says Ki Sircha B'Sadecha, V'Shachachta Eimer, so the Torah would have stopped over there. We would have said, just like Katzir is revealed, so the Shikha is also revealed. So we would have assumed that Tamun, buried underneath a heap, would be excluded. The Torah says Basada, it's coming to include something which otherwise would have been excluded. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that we exclude Tamun because it says V'Shachachta Eimer Basada, let's ask, why do we need the pasuk? Why do we need the word Basada? Without the word Basada, we would have excluded Tamun anyway, because it has to be Shikha Dumi the Katzir. It has to be Shikha similar to harvest, and harvest is Begalui, so Shikha is also Begalui. So the Gemara Einachanami. You're right. Rabbi Yehuda would also agree with you that you can learn it from Shikha Dumi the Katzir. Allah Basada Lamali. So why do we need the word Basada for? We need it to include that if you forgot a stalk or which is still connected to the ground, is also the din of shikha. The Rabbanan shikchas kama min Allahu. And where did Rabbanan learn shikchas kama from? In other words, the Rabbanan who use basada to include tamun. Chachamim said basada l'rabes is hatamim. So where do they learn shikha's coming from? Where do they learn that the din of shikha applies even if it hasn't been harvested? Nafkalahu, they learn it from kisikzer kitzircha besadecha. They learn it from kisikzer kitzircha besadecha. And what's the base over here? Kisikzer kitzircha besadecha v'shachachta. So besadecha v'shachachta. Even when it's bisadecha, when it's connected to the sada, it's still a din of shikha. So Rabbi Yehuda, why can't Rabbi Yehuda learn shikha's kama from bisadecha v'shachachta? Why does he need to use the pasuk basada to teach us shikha's kama? And for the Gemara, he needs it for the din of Rabbo. He needs it to teach us the din of Rabbo, who said in the name of Rabbi Lazar. Amar Rabbo, Amar Rabbi Lazar. Rabbo said in the name of Rabbi Lazar. When it comes to exclude, basada comes to exclude if the sheaves of grain floated into someone else's field. That is excluded. That doesn't have a din of sada. So the chachamim who learn from basada to include tamun, where do they learn the din of afu eimrin, safu eimrin l'seich dei chaveirei? That if the sheaves floated into somebody else's field, the din of shikha don't apply. Where do they learn that from? And for the Gemara, mi basada b'sadecha. It could have said basada, and it says b'sadecha. So you learn from b'sadecha that is dafka in your field, but if it floated into somebody else's field, there's no din of shikha. So why can't Rabbi Yehuda learn it from there? As the Gemara of Rabbi Yehuda, basada b'sadecha le mashmalei. Rabbi Yehuda holds that you can't learn from the extra endechach. Could have said basada, and it says b'sadecha. From that you learn a halacha. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't learn a halacha from an extra letter. The Chachamim do learn a halacha from the extra letter, and therefore they can learn the din of tzafu eimim l'seich dei chaveirei from the extra endechaf, and therefore they have the word basada for them is superfluous, and therefore they learn from basada. The rabbi says hatamun that even if it's buried underneath a heap of stones, it's still the din of shikha still apply. By Rabbi Yirmiyah. So Rabbi Yirmiyah asked a question. What would be the din if the sheaves of grain floated, but not into somebody else's field, but they floated in his own field? So they're not on the surface of the field; they're somewhere on a higher place. Avir sadek kisada dami. Do we say that the atmosphere of the field is the same as the surface of the field? I love kisada dami. Or do we say that the atmosphere in the field is not as the surface of the field, and therefore it's not considered this basada? Amar le Rav Masne, Rav Kana le Rav Papi. Rav Kana said to Rav Papi, the Amar le Rav Kana le Rav, and other Rav Zvid. Others say Rav Kana said to Rav Zvid. Tivshut leimid Rababo Amar Belazar. You can get the answer to your question from the words of Rababo Amar Belazar. Amar, he said, that this comes to exclude, basada comes to exclude, where the sheaves of grain floated into someone else's field. The chaveda in the seich sadehu loy. So obviously the exclusion is only if it's somebody else's field, but if it's own field, even though they're floating, meaning they're not on the surface of the ground, they're somewhere on in a higher part of the field, they would not be excluded. So here you have an answer to your question, that they're not excluded even though they're not on the surface. The atmosphere is considered like the surface because you can derive that from what's implied by the words of Rabbi Lazar. Says the Gemara, so the Gemara questions this implying. And says, well, according to what you're understanding it, so you're saying that in somebody else's field, only if they're floating on a higher place are they excluded. But if they're lying on the ground, they're not excluded. It doesn't have to be in your field, and when it's in somebody else's field, it's not in your field. Ella, so you have to say that if the wind, let's say, blew it, or something else caused the sheaves to leave your field and go into your friend's field, then it would be excluded even if it was lying on the surface of the ground. And the reason he says that they're floating, because the only practical way that they would come into your friend's field is if they're floating. So therefore, you can't really bring a proof from the Lashon over here, because the Lashon is not used specifically. The Lashon is used because this is a practical way of describing such a case. Tashma. So we're back to our question. What would be the case? What would be the halacha if the sheaves of grain are in the atmosphere of your field rather than on the surface of your field? So come in here, I will answer your question from the following B'raisa. It says, if you took an aimer, a sheaf of grain, and you held on to it with the intention of bringing it to the city, instead of bringing it to the city, he placed it on top of another sheaf of grain. And he forgot it. So now the question is, may he go back and take it, or does he have to leave it for the poor? So if he would have left it in the field, on the surface of the field, then obviously it would have been shikha. But over here, he put it on top of another sheep. So is that considered shikha or not? So the din is, the bottom one, the one that it was placed on top of, is shikha. You have to leave that one for the poor. But the top one, the one that you put on top of another sheaf, is not shikha. You may go back and take it. Shimon ben Yehuda, Shimon ben Yehuda, name Reb Shimon disagrees with this opinion, and he says, neither of these two sheaves has a din of shikha. The lower sheaf, the bottom sheaf, the one that's on the surface of the field, does not have a din of shikha because it's covered over by the top sheaf. And we have a din that tamun, anything which is buried underneath something else, does not have a din of shikha. And the top one is also not considered shikha because it's not on the surface of the field. It's floating on top of another sheaf. Therefore, neither of them are shikha. Where do we have a machlekes between the two opinions over here, between the Tanakama and Reb Shimon? Only betachting about the lower one, whether it's considered absolved from the din of shikha because it's covered. Aval be'elyon, but as far as the top one is concerned, everybody agrees that it's not shikha because it's tzaf, even though it's in the field of the owner. So we see clearly that tzaf will dehu, that if it's floated into a different part of his field and it's not on the surface of the field, the din of shikha don't apply. Says the Gemara, there's no proof from there. Why? Shiny Hassam, the case where he was holding the sheaf in his hand with the intention of taking it to the city, and then he put it down on top of another sheaf. You can't bring a proof from there. That is different, even the achzik because since he was holding it in his hand, zachabe. So he was zeichen and he was kainei, and therefore it becomes his, and it no longer has a din of shikha. If the reason why he's exempt from shikha is because he's holding it, because he held it on and he was zeichen when he held it, then why are you telling me that he put it on top of another sheaf and then it's not shikha? Even if you put it down on the surface of the field, it should have been exempt from shikha. Says the Gemara, you're right. You're right. If we put it down on the surface of the field, it also wouldn't be shikha, because since he held it in his hand with the intention of taking it to the city, he made a kinyan in it. The only reason the B'raisa uses the case where he put it down on top of another sheaf, mishum tachtei, to tell you the din of what happens to the bottom one. That the bottom one is a machlekes, whether it is or isn't shikha, depending on whether you consider tamun to be shikha. How could you tell me that that's the pshat? That the reason why it's not shikha is because he was zeichen in it. It clearly says in the B'raisa, and the reason it's not shikha is because it's floating; it's not on the surface. And for the Gemara, you should read into the B'raisa the reason why it's not shikha is because it has the same halacha as a floating aimer. Just like a floating aimer is not shikha, so this aimer, since he held it in his hand, even if it wasn't floating, it would also be not shikha. Abaye said that I'm now feeling like Ben Azai in the marketplace of Tveria. Ben Azai was a Tana many generations before Abaye, and he was a brilliant Talmud Chacham. And when he stood in the marketplace of Tveria, everybody knew that you could approach him with any question you have anywhere in Shas. So Abaye said, right now, I'm like Ben Azai in the marketplace of Tveria. I challenge anybody to come and ask me a shaila, and I'm sure I'll be able to answer. So one of the Chachamim asked Abaye, okay, I'll take you up on your challenge. This is my shaila.
Doesn't that smell of gaiva?
the smell of gaiva. I think Abaye was an incredible Talmud Chacham, and he made himself available to answer any shiloh that anybody wanted to ask. It was very kind of him. I don't think he was mechadish that he's a Talmud Chacham. It was a known fact that he was an incredible Talmud Chacham. He made himself available for anybody to ask a question. So he
Rashi says that Yom Echad Hayadat Tzlula. One day he just felt, today my mind is clear. I could help more people.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention. So Amalei Humid Rabbanan. So one of the Chacham came over to him and asked him a question. Amalei Humid Rabbanan Labayim. Tell me a shayla like this. Shnei chalolim ze'al gabei zeh. With the dinim of Egla Rufa, right? We found a dead body. We don't know who killed him, so we have to measure to the nearest city and bring an Egla Rufa. So what happens? We found two dead bodies, and one dead body is laying on top of the other dead body. So mehechon who made it? From where do you measure? What is the question? It's possible that min b'minoi have it tamun. The din of tamun. We said in our Mishnah that it has to be basada. The dead body has to be laying in the field. And that would exclude tamun, exclude if it's buried underneath something. So the question is, to be considered buried underneath something, does the something have to be something different from what you are? Or can it be the same thing that you are? So here in the case when one dead body is covering the other dead body, should we say that min b'minoi have it tamun, that it still has a din of tamun, or min b'minoi loy have it tzaf? There is no din of tzaf, of floating, when there's the same species lying on top of the same species. And therefore, the bottom one is excluded from the din of Egla Rufa because it's a tamun, but the top one is included in the din of Egla Rufa because it's not tzaf. It's basada. And therefore, me'elyon made it. Therefore, you have to measure from the top dead body. Aidilma, or should we say, min b'minei have it tzaf, that there's a din of tzaf even when one dead body is over the other, and therefore the top one would not be considered in the halachas of Egla Rufa. Min b'minoi lay have it tamun, but the dinim of tamun do not include min b'minoi, and therefore the bottom body, which is covered by another body, is not considered tamun. When we tachten made it, therefore you would measure from the bottom body. Aidilma, or we have a third possibility, min b'minoi have it tamun, min b'minoi have it tzaf, that the dinim of tamun apply to min b'minoi as well as the din of tzaf also applies to min b'minoi. And therefore, there's no case here for Egla Rufa at all, because the bottom body is a tamun, the top body is a tzaf, and both tzaf and tamun are both excluded from the din of Egla Rufa. So leme tachten made it, leme elyon made it. So you don't count from either one. So this
Why
is
doesn't he bring the fourth possibility?
Why doesn't he bring the fourth possibility?
Rashi.
I said, "Ruadin the mebayele nami, I do a min b'minei lay have a tam and min b'minei lay have a tzaf mashnei made. El shahu b'chlal ein."
Rashi brings the fourth possibility.
Yeah, that's what I'm just reading the Rashi.
Thank you.
Amar leit nisua. So Abaye said it's a meferish Mishnah. What's the meferish Mishnah? Aimer sheichzik by the licher leir. We just learned in the Mishnah. Now, if you had a sheaf of grain that you held in your hand with the intention of taking it to the city, and you placed it on the other one, and then you forgot it, so according to the Tanna Kama, the bottom one has a din of shikha, but the top one does not have a din of shikha. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda, Reb Shimon ben Yehuda said the name of Reb Shimon, Shneim einem shikha. They both do not have a din of shikha. So over here we have both tamun and tzaf in the form of min b'minoi. So Svaruha, they thought that the pshat in this machlekes is like this. Hani tanoi could have Yehuda Svirulai. Both these tanoim that are arguing whether an oimer on top of chaveiroi is considered shikha or not, they both hold like Rabbi Yehuda that the Amar Basada Pratlu Tamun, and the word Basada comes to exclude Tamun. My lab, Hakam Iflagi, and one of the Svaras Machlekes over here, the Mar Savar Min B'Minei Have Tamun, the Tanna Kama, which says Atachtin Shikha. The second opinion, Rabbi Yehuda ben Shimon ben Yehuda Mishum Rabbi Shimon, who says that the Tachtin is not Shikha, it's because he holds Min B'Minei Have Tamun, and therefore there's no din of shikha by tamun. Mar Savar Loi have a Tamun, and the other holds no, Min B'Mina is not considered Tamun, and therefore there is a Dinek Shikha. Right? So this is Abaye's suggested teretz. That this question of whether Min B'Mina is a din of Tamun or not is totally in this machlekes. Says the Gemara, like, no, that's not what they're arguing about. It could be both holding like Rabbi Yehuda. I'm sorry. They could be both holding like Rabbi Yehuda. Kula alma min b'mina have a tamun, and everybody hold. The kula alma min b'mina have a tamun. Everybody would hold that min b'mina is considered tamun. And here they're arguing about the machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon k'Rabbanon, Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda k'Rabbi Yehuda. So the Chachamim in this machlekes hold the same as the Chachamim in that machlekes. So the Chachamim who say Hatachton Shikcha hold the same as Rabbi Yehuda, same as the Rabbanon,
even though it's covered,
who hold that Tamun is Shikcha. But Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yehuda that Tamun is not Shikcha. And everybody agrees that Min B'Mina have a Tamun. The question is only whether Tamun is a problem for Shikcha. If the problem over here is Tamun, and Min B'Mina for sure is Tamun, there's no issue, there's no question about it. Everybody agrees that Min B'Mina have a Tamun. So then why does the Mishnah give a case of putting it on Gabe Chaveirei? Why doesn't he give a case of putting it on some earth or on some pebbles? And for the Gemara in Chanami, you're right. It would be the same halacha would be Ba'afar B'Tzreir as well. But the idea Chakechid Rabbi Yehuda, he's coming to tell you the strength of Rabbi Yehuda's position. Amar Afilu Min B'Mina have a Tamun. Rabbi Yehuda holds that Tamun is excluded from the din of Shikcha, even if it's Tamun under its same species. Tanu Rabbanan. The Rabbanan learned in the Braisa. Chalol v'loy chanuk. The din of Egel Arufa only applies to a slain person, assuming he was slain with a sword, but not if he was strangled. Chalol v'loy mefarper. Chalol means he has to be dead when he's found, but not mefarper. Mefarper is when it's tzapeltzich, when he's still after he's killed, but his body is still moving around. The nerves are still moving around. In other words. Not a geisis. A geisis is still alive. A mefarper is dead, but the nerves are still around. Ba'adama v'lei tamam b'gal. Ba'adama comes to exclude buried under a heap. Neifil, fallen, v'lei tali b'ilan, not hanging from a tree. Ba'asada in the field, v'lei tzafal pnei hamayim, and not floating on the water. Rabbi Lazar Eimer b'kulanim hayachalal erfin. Rabbi Lazar says, in all these cases, you do make an egla aruf. Just to see what's shouting hayachalal erfin. If he is a chol killed by a sharp metal instrument, so no matter where he's found, doesn't matter where he's found, or harper or not, but if he was killed by a sharp metal instrument, he's called a cholol, and you go ahead with the aglaru. Tanya Amar Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. We learned in a B'nai Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. Amar Leila Rabbi Lazar. They said to I think I skipped. 1 second. No, I didn't. Amar Leila Rabbi Lazar. They said to Rabbi Lazar, "Ya tameida she'im hayachanu kamutel ba'ashba she'ein erfin." Don't you agree that if he was strangled and he was placed in a garbage dump, that you don't make an egla arufa? Alma chalol v'lei chanuk. So we also accept that when it says chalol in the Torah, it's to be taken literally. It has to be killed by a sharp metal instrument and not strangled. So why don't you also take the word ba'adama literally? It has to be on the ground and not buried under a heap of stones. Neifil, take the word neifil literally, v'lei talabil, not hanging from a tree. on the field and not floating in the water. So why do you take the word chala literally and you don't take all the other words in the pasuk literally? So for Rebbe Lezer, chala yiseirik. Will answer that if it only said chala one time in the Kikaka would agree that you don't take it literally, and it would include a chanuk as well. But since the word chalal appears in the pasuk more than once, therefore we take it literally. It has to be dafka chalal, dafka killed by a sharp metal instrument, and not straight. Nimtza samach l'sfar. It said in the Mishnah that if the dead body was found near a border with Gentile country, or was found near a city where the majority is Gentiles. So you don't measure to a city that has a majority of Gentiles. Because it says ki yimatze. If it is found, it's a chiddush that it was found. Which excludes a situation which is very frequent. It's very common. And next to a border, it's very common that people penetrate the border and kill people. Or next to a city that's full of goyim, it's very common that there should be such tragedies. When the din of Egla Rufa only applies in an unusual case, which means it's not near the border and it's not near a city of Etikchab. Or if it's near a city that doesn't have a bezdin, the beina ziknei ha'ir v'leka, because it has to be the elders of the city. A city doesn't have a bezdin, doesn't have the elders of the city. Ein meidin el la'ir chulu. You only measure to a city that has a bezdin. Shita, isn't it obvious? Keeping the ton of the ir she'ein bezdin. We already learned that we don't measure to a city that doesn't have a bezdin. On a yadainis, I already know dein meidin the el ir she'yesh bezdin. Obviously, you can only measure to a city that has a bezdin. Says the Gemara, Hakam Ashmala, and this comes to teach us Tanya, like the following Brais. How do we know that if the dead body is found near a city that doesn't have a bezdin, you ignore that city and you measure to the nearest city that does have a bezdin? So what this teaches us is that if it's near a city, before we said if it's near the border or it's near a city full of goyim, so there's no mitzvah of Egla Rufa at all. Here we're saying there is a mitzvah of Egla Rufa. You just can't measure to a city that doesn't have a bezdin. So if you can't measure to a city that doesn't have a bezdin, you don't just give up. You do measure, but you measure to the nearest city with a bezdin. That's the chiddush. Okay. Says the Mishnah. Nimtza mechuven bein shtei ayaris. What if the dead body was found exactly between the two cities? Shtein meviyeh shtei egli. So both cities each one brings an egla for itself. So you have a total of 2 eglas for one dead body. Divri Rebbe Lezer. That's the opinion of Rebbe Lezer. En Yerushalayim meviyah egla rufa. And Yerushalayim doesn't bring an egla rufa. Nimtza reishe b'makam echad v'gufay b'makam echad. What happens if he was found his head in one place and the rest of his body in another place? So you take the head and you bring it to the body to measure from. It seems the implication would be to measure from the body. Divri Rebbe Lezer. That's the opinion of Rebbe Lezer.
You take the body to the head.
Malichin hareish eitz laguf. You take the head to the body. Yeah, that's Rebbe Lezer's opinion.
Yeah.
We'll see in the Gemara what the purpose of this exercise is. Now, Akiva Eimer haguf eitz lareish. Akiva says you bring the body to the head. From what part of the body do you measure? Rebbe Lezer says you measure from the belly button. Rebbe Akiva says you measure from the nose. Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov says you measure from the neck, as that's where he became a cholol from. He was slain by having the sword to his neck, so that's where you measure from. My time at Rebbe Lezer. So what's the reason why Rebbe Lezer holds that you should, if he's exactly between 2 cities, both cities should bring an egla rufa? Because Sabar, says the Gemara, he holds efshel etzamtzim, that you could be exact. In other words, the problem is like this. If you measured and it came out exactly the same, right? He's exactly in between 2 cities. So you could say, that the chances are that you're a 0.5 millimeter off. So really only one of the cities is closer. You just don't know which one it is. So neither of them can actually perform this mitzvah. And Rebbe Lezer says no. You can make an exact measuring. And since you made a measuring that showed that both these cities are exactly the same distance, so when the Torah says Ha'ir HaKroiva El HaChalal, the city which is closest to the dead body, it could also mean the cities that are closest in the plural. So therefore, according to Rebbe Lazar, if you measure it and it's exactly in the middle, you bring 2 egla rufas. And Yerushalayim via egla rufa. He says Yerushalayim never brings an egla rufa. Lamar Kra, because it says in the pasuk L'rishta, in the city that was given to you in the land that Hashem gave you to inherit. Because Sabar, and he holds Yerushalayim and Shvatim, and Yerushalayim was never divided amongst the Shvatim, so it's not considered L'rishta. Nimtza Reisha b'makam chulu. His head was found in one place and his body in another place. Says the Gemara, what is the machlekes? What are they trying to work out over here? If you want to tell me they want to know where to measure from, that can't be the case. Why? Since further in the Mishnah it says, where do we measure from? And so obviously the previous discussion was not about measuring. The machlekes is, there's a halacha that if you find a dead body in no man's land or out in the sticks, so wherever the body is found, he acquires that place to be buried there. So the question is, if his head is one place and his body is another place, where do you bury him? Do you bury where his head was found, or do you bury him where his body was found? And this is what it means to say, for the purpose of burial, he acquires the place in which he's found. If his head is found in one place and his body is found in another place, so Rebbe Lazar says you take the head to where the body is and you bury him where the body is. The Makiva says just the opposite. You take the body to the head and you bury him where the head was. What's the Svaras HaMachlekes? Mar Savar Gufei B'duchte Nafil. One is of the opinion that when a person is running, and in the middle of running, his head gets chopped off. So what happens? The body falls immediately. Reisha the nadi v'nafil, and the head keeps flying. Yeah, he's going at a speed. So if his head gets chopped off, his head keeps going, and his body falls on the spot. So therefore, we assume that the place that he was killed was the place where his body was found. Marsav, and the other one holds the head where it's slain falls right away. Gufu deroit azil, but the body keeps running, and therefore, where the place where the head was found, that's the place where he was killed. Where do you measure from? What is the Svaras HaMachlekes? One opinion holds that the main life force is in one's nose. The other one holds that the main life force is in your belly button, the middle of your body. So we're going to suggest that this machlekes fits with the following tanoim. When a fetus begins to develop, where does he start from? Where does he start developing from? From the head. So it says in the pasuk in Tehillim, Me'imi ato goizi. From the womb of my mother, you are goizi. What does goizi mean? It says in the pasuk, geizi nizrach v'ashlichi. So share your hair and throw it, which means that the shearings of the hair, that's where the developing of the baby begins. Let me just double check this. Yeah. So Gezi refers to the head.
Tear out the head to expose the head.
Yeah. So this has to do with the head. So this pasuk shows that the fetus begins to form from the head. Abashol says no. The fetus begins to form from the navel. And then it spreads roots in both directions. So the machlekes, whether we measure from the nose or from the navel, is the same machlekes as this machlekes here between the Tanakama and Abba Shol. Says the Gemara, Afilotema Abba Shaul. Both opinions can go according to Abba Shaul. Ad Kalei Kamar Abba Shaul Elin Yitzira. Abba Shaul only says that it's from the navel as far as where it's formed from. Because he argues that the baby is formed, the fetus is formed from the middle. But as far as where the main life is in a fully developed person, so everybody would agree that it's in the nostrils. Whoever has a soul of life in his nostrils. Then in the Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says that you measure from where he became a chalol, which is from his neck. My time of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. What's the reason why Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov holds this way? Because it says in the pasuk, to place your necks with the necks of the chalolei, the corpse of the wicked. So the term chalol is used to describe the neck. So therefore, when it says ki matzei chalol ba'adama, chalol means a corpse, but it also is a reference to the neck, and therefore you measure from the neck the place where he became a corpse from. Okay, I think we'll hold it over here, and Amir Hashem tomorrow at 2:45, we will start from the new Mishnah, Nifteru Ziknei Yerushalayim.
To think, first of all, why do we start 2:45? Because
the longer
nothing.
And by 3:45, this Zoom is used by Rabbi Lieberman for a Shulchan Aruch shir.
I see, okay.
By 3:45.
And the other thing is,
it's only 4 days. There's a long blätter.
According to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, does that sound if someone became a chalol chas v'shalom through his stomach, is not a chalol?
Probably is, but the normal way would be mitzavar.
Yeah, but the way he says, he makes it like a blank statement. He almost sounds like, no, a chalol is only from tzavar, and that's where he gets buried. And
I'm just suggesting that's what it asks my time of the Elazar, and brings an ayah from a pasuk. So it's not just a svara. It's a pasuk that the pasuk describes chalolei rishayim as necks.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. From the pasuk, it sounds that a chalol is only if he got killed from the tzavar.
Somebody who gets shot with an arrow straight into the heart, it's Mishnah chalol.
That would not be. That doesn't seem to be the case. He said before that any blunt, if he's killed by a blunt instrument, that's called a chalol. I think the usual way for it to be done is that you slice his neck.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
Till the Yetzirah.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good plan. Zayt Matzliach.
Thank you. Amen. Good Chodesh.
Good Chodesh.